Greetings, everybody, from Trinitarian Grace International, formerly known as Grace Ministries. We welcome everyone here today. It's a special day. We got people from all over the world, and as I've said many times, people have other choices, but they choose to share it with us. And I'm going to introduce at this time our speaker, Dr. Fred from Kenya. Fred, you got it, brother.
Thanks a lot, Rennie, and thank you for giving me the opportunity so that I can share what God has planted in my heart. And I want to thank you in a special way because you're the people who introduced me to this group. And from the time you introduced me, together with my family, we have been counting blessings, especially the messages that we get here. They keep on lifting us day by day. And we bless God for that and for the entire platform. And I'm married to this beautiful lady who is seated with me here. And we have been blessed with 3 boys. One is in high school, the other one is a teenage, and the smaller one is like 3 years. And I thank God for my family because I'm what I am because of them. And I'm also a minister of the gospel. And I pastor with the General Lutheran Church and also the Grace International, Trinitarian Grace International. And beside that, I'm also a teacher of the world with Salt Lake Bible College here in Kenya and also in the US. So thanks a lot. Let's go to what God has prepared for us. I would like we read Matthew 4:18-22.
Matthew chapter 4, verse 18-22. As Jesus was walking beside the Sea of Galilee, he saw 2 brothers, Simon called Peter and his brother Andrew. They were casting a net into the lake, for they were fishermen. "Come, follow me," Jesus said, "and I will send you out to fish for people." At once they left their nets and followed him. Going on from there, he saw 2 other brothers, James, son of Zebedee, and his brother John. They were in a boat with their father Zebedee, preparing their nets. Jesus called them, and immediately they left the boat and their father and followed him.
Thanks a lot. Our message today is the men and women God needs. Because sometimes whenever this is mentioned, we start preparing what we have qualified for. But this is not what God is looking for. He's just calling you the way you are. And as I said, a great many people have disqualified themselves from God's service when God himself has approved them. Maybe because of what other people are saying, maybe because of the kind of things we are hearing in our today's world. Like today, if you tell somebody that I want to open a ministry, the next thing, the kind of comments that you get from people is that you also decided to make money, thinking that maybe starting a ministry is going to help you make money, which is not true. Many point at their inability, that they are not fit for the task. And I think I'm part of that, because many are the times, like when I joined the Bible school, and the people are telling me that you can become a good speaker. And I was telling them, I also stammer. Whenever I'm high-tempered, I stammer. And I was telling people I cannot be able to preach because I'm a stammerer sometimes. Whenever my mood changes, I become something else. But God is telling us that we should not focus on our shortcomings, but we should focus on the strength and on the call. God says, I've called you and I will qualify you. One thing with our God is that he doesn't call the qualified. He calls those who don't qualify so that he may qualify them for his work. And that's the beauty of ministry. So, I always say that going to a Bible school is very important because it's what I do. But that calling is more important than attending to the Bible school. God does not always call the qualified, but always qualifies those he calls. And I gave examples like Moses. Moses was a stammerer. And if you read the story of Moses, the way he argued with God, that I cannot speak well, people will laugh at me. But God told him that it is you I want to use. If you look at the life of Paul, Paul was a murderer. You remember even Stephen was killed under his watch, but still God used him. Abraham was a liar, and David was also an adulterer like anybody else. And I said Macharia, like Moses, is a stammerer. And I say the list is endless. If we look at our shortcomings, we won't go far in the ministry. But we need just to focus on God, the one who is calling us. And if indeed he is the one who has called us, he will show us the way. And if you read Peter, 1 Peter 4, 10 to 18, and it says that as much as one has received a gift in the ministry, it is to another good servant of many to God. And it is interesting to see the kind of men Jesus chose to work with. Just think of a fisherman. You know, they don't go any training. They are just like anybody else. They can even be trained within one day. And these are the people that Jesus chose so that they can propagate the gospel. And these and they said they were fishermen, and they were not men of great scholarship or influence or men of wealth. You know, most of the fishermen, especially here in Africa, they live on what we call hand to mouth. Whatever they get, they will take that home, and the little they will make out of what they are going to sell, they are going to consume that for that night. And if tomorrow they will not be able to go and fish again, then the whole family will sleep without eating. And these are the people that Jesus chose. They were simple people, poor people, ordinary men. And many times the church tries a lot to get the polished people instead of winning the poor and tries to be made whole. We spend a lot of time on the so-called polished people, and sometimes we even call them the professionals. We forget to support those people who have genuine calls. Because in our world today, people want to see papers. And for us who are in the Bible school, there are people who are coming to study, yet they don't have the call. It is in the church where bad people should be made good. And I always say that the church is a rehab for all. So we should not choose who should come to church and who should not come to church. The church is a world hospital and a rehab. Once there came an ordinary man to Socrates, and this called again, and he said to him, "I'm a poor man," he said. "I have nothing else, but I give you myself. Do not see," Socrates replied, "that you are giving me the most precious thing of all. All what God wants from us is to give ourselves totally to him so that he can use us, not our qualification, not our wealth, not our tribe or anything that we feel that we own, but he needs us. He need committed men, people who are going to totally surrender themselves to him so that he can use them. What Jesus needs are ordinary men who are ready to give themselves to him. And that is what I said. These are people who are going to totally surrender themselves to God, not to make money, not to make big names, but to support the work that God has bestowed in their hearts. God can do anything with people like that. Once we totally give ourselves, we forget about ourselves. Once we give ourselves fully to God, we forget about ourselves, then we will say that it is him who is in me, so that him who is in me may increase and that I may go down. Many children of God have qualified themselves from God's service and have opted rather to support a few qualified professions. If you go to any church where the true gospel is preached, you will never find people there, because people want to be preached to what they want to hear. People want to be told how they can get rich, how they can expand whatever they are doing, and how they will go to heaven. If you preach to people that Jesus died on the cross, and we also have to follow him, nobody is going to follow you, because they will not abide with that. Look at Jesus' disciples, and as I said, they were ordinary occupation of life, people who lived in hand to mouth, keen in their business, because when it comes to fishing, if you are not committed, then you cannot make anything out of it. And people who are dedicated to duty, like here, we are not along the coast, but whenever we go to along the coast, you find they have to wake up very early in the morning, and sometimes they even have to go to the waters again late in the evening. And the men who are quick to resolve, people who can make decisions very fast, unafraid of failure. Because if you're a fisherman and you fear failing, then I don't think that you can stick there for a long time. Because there are times when they will go and they will catch nothing, and you still find them the next day on the sea, trying to find their luck again. Now, the other number is they should be ready to try out again. Even if you fail today, it doesn't mean that tomorrow will not bring something. But sometimes they even go for like 3 to 4 days without anything, and they were still ready to look for something. It is good that we look at some of the qualities of a fisherman. I felt it is good that we look them point by point. And I said, number one, they must be patient. They must be patient. State of endurance under difficult circumstances. And they said, they wait until the fish take the bait. So, and sometimes, there are people who don't have patience, and I think I'm among them. And having a family and the ministry has really taught me that for me to achieve anything, I have to be patient. I have to be patient. If restless, you will catch nothing. As I say, sometimes you may try in the morning, get nothing, in the evening, but still tomorrow you go and try your luck. Because if you are restless, you will catch nothing. Rarely do results come quickly in the ministry, because sometimes we have this is a betting kind of a slogan that we have here in Kenya. We call it pesa pap, as in you save this kind of amount and that amount is doubled thrice or even 100 times. And this sometimes is what we expect in the ministry. You want to start a ministry today, and you want to have the biggest church in the world or the biggest church in the community, and that's not easy. Rarely do results come quickly. We have to nurture, and if you have a vision, there are stages in a vision. You have the vision, then you have to prepare the ways and means that you are going to achieve that vision. Otherwise, if you lose the track, you will not achieve what you want. And it's not a must that you achieve the vision that you have for the ministry. You may lay the foundation for somebody who will come after you. So we should not be in a hurry, but we should trust God. We must learn to wait. Learning to wait. You allow God's time. We allow God to work. Number two, they must have perseverance, steady persistent in a course of action in spite of difficulties. And at your own time, you can read Ephesians 6:18. Learn never to get discouraged, but always try again. And for those who have been in the ministry, you may not even be able to count how many times you have tried to do whatever you are doing today in the ministry. There are times that you do and all your efforts are watered down. Perseverance. But it should not be a reason for us to give in the ministry. It should be something that should encourage you and me to know that anything good, we have to work for it. And no matter how many times we try, we should not give up. Good preachers and teachers never get discouraged when nothing seems to happen. Good preachers and teachers never get discouraged when nothing seems to happen. Sometimes you'll be in a ministry and there is no growth. You try this, nothing is happening. You try evangelization, nothing is coming out. It should be not the reason as why we should leave the ministry, but it should encourage us to do things in the right way and wait for God's time. Number 3, they must have courage, the ability to comfort fear, pain, and danger, moral strength to venture. And I said, be ready to risk and face the fury of the sea. Be ready to risk and face the fury of the sea. Look at the ministry. Sometimes you feel like you are going to give it out today. You are going to give up and start it all over again. It is the fury of the sea, and we should offer it to God. We should offer it to God, because like a fisherman, if you don't have that courage, you will never achieve anything in the ministry. People that you think that are your friend, people you think that are people who can comfort you, people who you think that they are there for you. Sometimes in the ministry, you find that they are not there. And it should not be the reason as why you should quit from the ministry, but it should encourage us so that we have that courage also to encourage others. Preachers must always remember there is danger in telling the truth. There is always a danger in telling the truth, because people, as I said, people want to be preached what they want to hear. If you tell the people the truth, nobody is going to listen to you. And like now, the church, we have a very difficult task, because there are things that are happening that are not biblical. And a church should have a clear stand on them. Like on the issue of marriage, we know how God wanted it to be, because marriage is an institution that was instituted by God himself. But there are people who are changing it. And because of fear, we are forced to support some of their sentiments. Because maybe like churches in third world countries, we need support. And for us to get that support, we are forced to agree to some of those things. And it's not good. We should always stand with what is the truth. Because remember, as whoever much is given, much will be required. Those who tell the truth risk their lives and their reputation. And this is very true. Look at the gospel that we are preaching to the people. Nobody wants to hear. Nobody wants to listen to us. And sometimes we are stigmatized because of that. We are profiled because of telling the truth. And we should not shy off, because that burden is in our hearts. And not unless we talk that truth to the people, is only time that we will experience the peace that comes from God. Number 4, they must have an eye for the right moment. And this is very, very important in the ministry, Through the experience, fishermen know when it is hopeless to fish. They will tell you that today, even if you spend the whole day in the sea, nothing you get out of it. Even clever preachers, they also know the right moment. You know when you expect growth in the ministry and when you should not expect anything. Because when you have that, you will not ever expect something. You will only focus, and you will not use some of the resources that you would have used another day for that particular day, because you know that this is not the right moment. When to cast the net and when not to. And in this, I would like to mention about maybe the resources that we have as a church. We will know when to use those resources and when not to, because we are not going to get any fruit out of this. Know when people are ready for the truth. Knowing people when they are ready for the truth. And when you know that, you will not put yourself in problems, because there are places where you talk the truth. Like when we go with our Muslim brothers, we read their moods. When there is time for sharing the word of God with them and sharing the difference that we have between us and them, and when not to mention those differences by reading the moods, because our security is also very key. Truth can move or harden. Truth can move or harden. And this is when we are doing evangelization. When we are doing evangelization, you may tell the truth to people and they may change their mind. But there are those that you tell them the truth and they will harden, and they may even think of attacking you. And this is not what we want. Wise preachers and teachers know when to speak and when to be silent. This is also very important. Like us who combine both, we are teachers and we are pastors. Sometimes we talk. Our teacher used to tell us that we talk even to a point that we talk the untalkable things. It is good that we limit ourselves. We know when to talk and when to be silent. And that one is very important. And I remember my brother Paul, we were talking the other day, and he was saying that it's very hard for Africans when we are in a conversation and there is an elder. So sometimes we don't talk till the time we are given that opportunity, because that is our tradition. And even in the ministry, we should learn when to speak and when to be silent. They must fit the bait to the fish. One fish will rise to one bait and another to another. And this is the way it's supposed to be. You don't do evangelization today and you expect to get 100 people or 200 people. You may get one today, and another day you may get another one. And you should not be discouraged because you see that I spend a lot of resources and at the end of the day, we have only gotten like 5 people. No. One fish will rise to one bait and to another. You catch a lion with meat and chicken with maize. As we are doing evangelization to people, we should know what is close to them. Just like the way Jesus, when Jesus was teaching, you remember there are places where he's called, he is a good shepherd. And I believe when he was talking about being a good shepherd, he was talking to people who kept livestock. And when we were talking about a mustard seed, he was talking to people who are farmers, so that these examples would sink into their minds. John 3:16, we catch some men, but not all. So as we go to share Christ with people, we should not expect that we'll get everybody. Yes, we can get some men, but not all. Discernment is necessary in ministry. And I would like, maybe at your time, you can read 1 Corinthians 9:22. To the weak became as a weak, that I might gain the weak. I am made of things to all men, that I might by all means save some. Wise preachers know what some approach will not win every man. Our approach matters. Our approach matters. Know your limitations. Know who you can reach to for Christ. It's always good that we know our limitations, because once we know what our limitations are, it will be easier for us to turn them to become strength. Discover your area of effectiveness. This is also very important. There are those who can reach others through evangelization. There are those who can reach to others through media and others. And this is very important. They must keep themselves out of sight. They must keep themselves out of sight. When fishing, never make your presence obvious or even your shadow. If you are visible, the fish will not bite. And as I said, wise preachers and ministers will always seek to present people to Christ and never to themselves. Because sometimes it's that I did this, I was able to baptize these people, I was able to reach to these people. We should do everything we do in the ministry for Christ. And we should not take credit in our achievement in the ministry, because they should always belong to Christ, because he is the owner of the vineyard. We are just workers in that vineyard. We should always fix people's eye on Christ. And our testimony should be, Christ did this for me. Never allow people to look upon you, because sometimes, because of the things that we do, our people sometimes will look at us as gods. We should never allow that. Point the people to God. Point the people to God. And as I wind up, there is a story that I like giving. And this is a story told of a child who got lost in a big city, and should be Nairobi, because it's the biggest town in Eastern Africa. And some people found this little girl and took her to the police station. And after interviewing her, the child for a long time told the police. And as you know, the way we bring our children, sometimes if they ask, what's the name of your father? You say, my father is called Daddy. What's the name of your mother? My mother is called Mommy. And so they could not be able to help the kid. But after a long struggle, the little girl said, take me to the house with the cross at the top. The girl said, from there, I will know my way home. And I think as ministers of the gospel, the only thing that we can do to the people is to take them at the foot of the cross. Because if we do that, they will find their way home. God bless you.